What are we supposed to feed our kids? Welcome to Talking with Docs. I'm Dr. Brad Weening.
And I'm Dr. Paul Zalzal.
We have a guest today.
Dr. Rikin Patel, thank you so much, guys, for having me. Really appreciate being on. What are we wanting our kids to eat? It's a really amazing question that's really important. I'm really passionate about talking about food. It's had such a huge impact on my life. What are telling our kids to eat? Generally, based on the Canada Food Guidelines, we really want to increase fiber intake. And, people probably ask me, why such an importance? Fiber.
Why does it even matter? We're just going to poop it out.
So fiber, first point, it has a huge impact on diversifying the healthy gut bacteria that we have in our gut. Why is this important? Because it actually strengthens our immune system. Did you know that 80% of our immune system is actually found in the lining of our intestines and our gut? So having that diverse bacteria really helps strengthen our immune system.
I think what we're realizing is that the microbiome, we don't know a lot about it, but we know that it's really important.
It's super powerful.
And fiber is that food for those bacteria.
And the access from the microbiome to the brain is really being researched.
Well. We have a brain, and our gut is also a brain in itself, right? The second important reason for fiber, it levels off our blood glucose levels. So I think of fiber, think of it as like, if you remember Spider-Man, he has his web. Think of it as like a gel that sticks to your artery. So you have sugar flowing through, but as soon as it gets absorbed, it's gonna stick to this spider web, and that actually slows the absorption of sugar in our body, and so that spike doesn't go as high. It helps reduce our risk of obesity, diabetes. So it helps control our blood sugar levels, helps reduce inflammation in our arteries. So again, some of the benefits, and I don't have to say, but in kids, constipation's an epidemic.
Right. One of the number one reasons for ER visits, right, is abdominal pain related to constipation.
Right? Okay, so how do we get fiber into the child?
Okay, so this is a really great thing to talk about. This is a challenge. Parents often tell me, Doc, I love what you're talking about, but it's so hard to get vegetables into our child. And I often tell families, this is the reason why. Is there something called the pleasure trap? I was blown away when I heard about this. Basically, what I was referring to, if I give you an apple, that apple has 100 calories, you eat it and say, that's great. As soon as I take that apple, I may cover it with caramel, chocolate, and I eat that same apple, that apple has now become 800, 1,000 calories. But what happens in our body is that the reward systems, our brain, they go out of control. They say, wow, that is the most amazing apple I've ever had. I can only ever have that apple.
That's the only kind of apple I ever want.
So what happens is that our set point goes from here to here. And now it explains why going back to that whole food, that whole vegetable, is so difficult. I remember when I found that about myself, I thought, wow, this is the reason why I know what to do, and it's so difficult to make the right decision. It's because of this pleasure trap. That was really powerful. But what I tell parents is that all is not lost because we can retrain our taste buds. It takes a minimum 2 weeks to retrain, for us to develop new taste buds, but we can do it. We just have to watch the exposure in that time.
Can you give some practical tips on how would a parent start this process? They listen, my kid just wants chicken nuggets every night. I cannot get them. How can I get them to start eating some fruits and vegetables?
Right. So the first principle that I tell families is that if there are foods that we don't want our children eating, the hard decision happens at the grocery store, and we actually
don't have them in the house.
Yeah. So
lead by example.
Out of sight, out of mind. Right. Yeah. And kids. Right, the younger they are, the easier they forget about things being in the house. So again, I always tell parents the principle called division of responsibility. The kids get to choose the food that they eat, but the parents are responsible for providing the options.
Okay.
Right? So we know that kids are exposed to all sorts of things when they go to get out of the house. So I tell parents inside the home, that is your domain to regulate and to at least establish. And it's, we're not, we don't expect to be 100% of the time. So I always work on the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, let's do it as good as we can. So 20% of the time, we may know birthday parties, the weekend, whatever it may be, right?
Yeah. Friday night.
Exactly, right? So that we have some, some balance. But again, 80% of the time, it's really important. And we know that, the more challenging our problem may be, we also have to meet that with a stronger intervention. This is just a general principle of lifestyle medicine, right?
Don't make your home a pleasure trap.
Yeah.
Which is a good name for like an ice cream
Right.
shop.
But again, just in terms of other practical tips, so get it out of the house, and consistency matters. They did this study out of Belgium. They show what gets our kids to eat more fruits and vegetables. Is it the shape of it? Is it the color of it?
Yeah.
Is it, do we sneak it in? What are the different factors? The number one factor that went into kids eating more fruits and vegetables was the parents' behavior of eating fruits and vegetables. So this speaks to the point of parents being the model. And so even though my kids are my patients, I always say, hey, parents, if we want the kids to do it, I have to ask you guys to take this on board and try it out first.
Is that when they walk out of the office?
And so the nice thing about lifestyle medicine focusing on pediatrics is that I focus on the child, but I ask the parents to come along the journey with me.
That's incredible.
And the main benefits obviously are the health benefits of the food, but the prevention and the deterrence of long-term disease, right? When you give a 6 or a 7 or 8 year old that all of a sudden is eating bad food and gaining extra weight and becoming less active, this is what leads to high blood pressure and diabetes and heart disease in the 20s and 30s and 40s.
Yeah, exactly. We know now that heart disease, cardiovascular disease, is actually a pediatric condition.
Right.
Meaning that we know that, I started talking about the food guidelines as young as 2 because we know at 3 years old, kids are already starting to develop some fatty streaks. And by 10 years old on the standard American or Canadian diet, 100% of kids
Have plaque.
have fatty streaks.
Oh my goodness.
Into the 20s and 30s, it starts developing the plaque, and this is why heart disease in the 40s and 50s, you get symptoms already developing. And so we know that what we choose to eat when we're young makes a big difference early on. We also know that the food choices we make early on, the risk of developing chronic disease, the most impact is in fact in the first 20 years of life. So that means that the better choices we're making in that first 20 to 25 years of life, the lower risk we have of developing a chronic disease.
Right? Oops.
Yeah.
And we know now, I'm sure you've talked about this before, that dietary risk factors and choices is the number one factor contributing to disability and chronic disease.
And the number one modifiable risk factor, right? It's all about a choice.
Yeah.
Not if you're over 20.
Yeah.
You need a time machine.
Well, no, it's never too late. It's never too late.
No.
Okay, so now you know, with respect to food, it's all about making those small choices and doing as good of a job as you can in setting an example for your kids. And the take home is try to eat more plants, try to eat more whole grains, and try to eliminate the processed foods if you had to have 3 take homes.
Right.
Don't get caught in the pleasure trap.
Yeah.
There you go.
Even small changes make a big difference. So let's start with one day at a time.
Now you know. If you like this video, please like it. Subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment if you have any thoughts about this topic.
And remember, you are in charge of your own health. Dr. Patel, thank you.
Thanks so much.
We'll see you next time.